So I got to see Superman at an advanced early screen a couple days before it came out. Now, I was really excited for this movie. I love James Gunn as a filmmaker. Superman is my favorite character of all time in comics, and like I said, I was really excited, so I had a lot of anticipation for this movie. This movie lived up to my expectations. I love this new Superman movie. This is my favorite Superman movie personally right now. Like, I enjoyed Man of Steel and Superman Returns, but I also had problems with those movies. And I totally understand if you love those two Superman movies. But for me, this movie finally captured what makes Superman, at least for me, great and stand out and unique. So I loved a lot, like just most of the stuff in this movie and a lot of stuff in this movie. Like the only negative I honestly had with this movie is that the actress who played Eve Taskmaster, there was times where the character was a little too goofy for me. Outside of that, though, I love everything about this movie. Look, I'm not saying this movie is perfect. No movie, in my opinion, made in history is perfect. But I just came out of this movie just having a big smile on my face and just really connecting with the characters and this world and excited for the DC universe, because I didn't feel that with Man of Steel. And this movie just stuck with me afterwards. And I was thinking about it a lot. So this is just, to me, this is the modern Superman movie I've been waiting for. So all the positives I have about this movie. First off, the cast is great. David Cornsett, I think he's fantastic as Clark Kent Superman. I think he nails the heart, the warmth, the joy, the struggle of the character. And the thing I love about Superman in this, for me at least, is he feels human. He feels like a person, somebody you can meet in the real world, and he just felt relatable to me. Like he didn't feel like this all-powerful God that has no emotion, or has like one emotion to him, which is either depressed or cynical. Like I love the fact that this Superman wears his heart out in the open, and I feel like in a cynical world we have today, we could use some of that. Like what to me, what Superman's greatest strength is his kindness, is his hope, is the fact that he believes in people. He cares about people. Despite him feeling alien, he feels more human than any of us. And this movie, to me, when it comes to modern Superman movies, this is the modern Superman movie that finally captured that. Like, this is the first Superman I loved since Superman 2. And David Cronin just is able to pull off all those different sides of Superman in this movie, effortlessly, while making him feel human, relatable, down to earth. Someone you can go like, yeah, I can run into that person on the street. And the little most we got of him as Clark Kent, because this movie is really mostly about him as Superman. You don't get too much of Clark Kent. I love the look of Clark Kent in this movie. Like to me, I love the fact that he looks different as when he's Clark Kent. And the little moments we got at the beginning with him, when you see like that quick shot of trailer of him on the walking street going on the Day Planet, or the stuff with Jimmy and Lois at the Day Planet in the movie, I think he does a great job of making his Clark Kent feel kind of like a little awkward. And that's something I always love about Clark Kent, is the fact that he kind of he's not like the coolest person in the world, but that to me is what I love about the character. And I love the costume personally. I love the fact that the costume is bright, is colorful, and it just gives off that like fun vibe, and that vibe where this is somebody that's approachable. And I noticed Dave Cornshaw talked about the costume where with the underwear, and look, I don't really care either way whether Superman has underwear or not. To me, I love the costume in this because it represents and the Superman where this is a Superman that's approachable. This is a Superman that you can walk up to and talk to and have a conversation with, and doesn't scare kids and stuff like that. It's like an approachable Superman with like a big element with the costume too, where he just feels approachable because of the bright colors, and he just comes off more just it's a to me the costume I think adds an element to the bright side of this character. So I love the costume personally. Like I said, David Cornshirt just brings all these elements to this character that makes him so relatable. The actress who played Lois Lane, Weso Bazan, I think she's fantastic as Lois Lane. To me, she captures that Lois Lane as a hard ass reporter that would do nothing, that would do anything to get the truth. And her and David Cornshirt just have fantastic chemistry. Like that moment you see in the trailer where they're doing the interview, right away you buy these two together. And I love the progression of their relationship where she will question Superman on stuff and just call him out on stuff. I love that because it shows that how Lois and Superman are opposite personalities of each other in this movie. But at the end of the day, they love each other. And I just love that fact about this Lois, where you have these two people who are opposite personalities, but at the same time, they love each other because of it, because of how opposite they are. And I think this movie shows that hard supporter side that I always love about Lois Lane. Like Amy Adams was fine, but she was just kind of forgettable to me personally. The actress in Superman Returns was terrible. And for me, I like when it comes to Lois Lane in modern movies, Margaret Qualley was the last Lois Lane I loved in film. And to me, this actress is up there with her. Like she just does a great job. And also, like in Man of Steel and Superman Returns, I never really bought the chemistry between Lois Lane and Superman in those movies with those actors. Like David Crossfit and Rachel Brosnahan, just I feel like just have just great chemistry, off the trust chemistry, where you just feel the love between these two characters, and you feel like these two characters belong together. So to me, I was not that felt like this movie nailed. Nicholas Hoult, I think he's great as Les Luthor. I think he nails to me. I love this version of Les Luthor because I always loved Les version of Les Luthor way he's like a billionaire, where he's in charge of his own corporation. And I think he just nails Les Luthor when it comes to his tenacity, like when it comes to how tense he is. I think he nails showing how smart Les is and how he feels like a threat to me. And I love the fact that he kind of reminds me of Smallville's version. Like I know James Gunn was a fan of Smallville, and the idea that this is somebody who's envious of Superman. This is somebody who like is jealous of the fact that Superman has these natural gifts, and people are looking up to him and not to Les. I love that side. It also kind of reminds me of Superman the animated series version, and I think it just spins like a test. Like I said, like a really like a tendency, like a Les that feels very tense to the movie where this guy comes off just like, oh yeah, you'll be scared of this Les, but at the same time, you kind of understand where he's coming from with his feelings towards Superman, which I love that. He just does a great job of bending these different layers to Les, his envy, his jealousy, and his smarts, and making him feel like a threat too. So I love Nicholas Hoult as Les Luthor. To me, he was fantastic as Les Luthor. This is my favorite Les Luthor in film since the Gene Hackman version, in film at least. Like I love a lot. I love like all the Les Luthors we've seen in television and stuff. When it comes to movies, this is my favorite Les Luthor in film since Gene Hackman. So Nicholas Hoult, I think he does a fantastic job as Les Luthor. I thought he was a great main villain in the movie. When it comes to his henchmen, Ultraman, and Engineer, I'm going to spoil something here. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop the video now. So it's revealed that Ultraman is a clone of Superman, which I actually like that twist. Like I thought that was a cool twist, and I didn't really have a problem with these with Ultraman not being like a character where you don't see him really talk. So at the end of the day, to me, this movie, Les Luthor is the main villain of this movie, and Ultraman's more of a henchman, which I don't have a problem with that because Les Luthor to me was a great main villain, so that didn't really bother me. The Engineer I thought was a really cool character. I really liked how powers were used, and I liked the character personally. And to me, I thought they were both, like good deaths when it came to Superman having to like struggle between his opponents with their powers and strength. And look, she's not the most the most like not the most interesting, but just she's not the most like the most complex villain. But at the end of the day, to me, this movie Les is the villain. I also love how this movie just stole you into the DC universe. We're not doing the whole Superman origin story. Superheroes have existed in this DC universe for a long time now. Same with Superman. He's been Superman for years now. Which I love that. I love the fact this feels like a DC universe. One of the things with the DCU is that it never felt like a DC universe as a whole to me. It just felt to me like they just didn't have an idea where they were going. And this felt like, okay, this movie feels like a DC universe to me, where different heroes can exist. So I love that it just throws you into it. And this movie just feels very comic booky. It feels like the comics brought to life. It feels like this is something straight out of the comics. And I can tell this movie being very comic booky might not work for some people because of that. I totally get that. And this movie is I think this movie is like 2 hours and 6 minutes. I didn't feel it was overstuffed. It always felt to me like you kept the focus on Superman without ever feeling like it was about another character. Like to me, Superman, Les and Lois, I think to me are the main focus of this movie. And I didn't feel it was overstuffed personally. I thought it moved at a great pace, but I never felt lost or anything like that. But I can also understand if some people feel like this is a little overstuffed, where you feel like maybe it's too much for you. Which I totally get that. For me, I didn't feel that personally. And the rest of the cast do a great job. The actor who played Jimmy, the actor who played Perry, I thought they were all great. I love the scenes at the beginning at the Daily Planet with Clark and where it is just like, and I love the look of Daily Planet in this movie. So I just love the scenes with them at the beginning when it comes to really get the vibe of these people, of him and Jimmy being friends. And I think the Daily Planet, like I said, I love the design of the Daily Planet in this movie. So the actor played Perry did great. The whole cast at the Daily Planet that played the Daily Planet characters, I think, all did great too. And like I said, the fight scenes I think are great. I love the flying scenes in this movie. I thought they looked great. They were exciting, and I just think this is a movie that really captures what I think we need in this a Superman in this world right now. This is just to come out of this movie with a smile on your face, to feel like a kid again, like to feel like that. Okay, you know what? World isn't that bad. You have hope, and I think that to me is what Superman always represents. There's a great moment at the end of this movie where Superman gives a speech, and that to me is Superman. Is that he has a gigantic heart. That despite how cynical the world is, that to me is what makes him badass. Is that even though the world is cynical, he will still show his heart. And he still will have kindness towards people and try to see the good in people despite how cynical the world is. And that to me is what makes him stand out, what gives him his strength. And that moment, he gives that speech to Les. I love that moment in this movie because it just represents everything about Superman that I personally love. And to me, what makes him human, relatable to people. And this movie just captured that. I love the tone of this movie. It never felt like it got too silly. Like I said, the only negative I have is that the actor who played Eve Taskmaster, there was times where the character was a little goofy for me. But I just love how this movie feels so optimistic. And that it didn't feel like it was trying to like change the essence of Superman or make him edgy or like really depressed or make him like Batman. Like to me, he's like Captain America to me, where it's like, yes, the world might be dark at times, but he's the beacon of hope. He's the beacon of light that you look up to. And yeah, he struggles. He can be serious, but at the same time, there should always be a sense of warmth around him when you think of Superman. It's what makes Batman and Superman's friendship in the comics, in my opinion, interesting and great. Is that they're best friends in the comics because tone-wise are opposite of each other. You know, it was like when I think of like the Superman anime series. Remember when they crossed over with the Batman anime series? To me, they were great. They were interesting friends, and even the Justice League series were great friends because of how opposite tone they are. Superman will look at the world in a brighter viewpoint. Batman is a cynical one where he doesn't have much faith in people. And I love that this movie gets back to that Superman. It also makes me excited to see a Batman, if you put a dark Batman with this Superman, because to me it makes a great, interesting friendship, a great, like, interesting conflict when you have two opposite tones of each other, two opposite tones of a character. So I just think David Crochet in that moment when he gives a speech, it just represents everything about Superman that I love personally. This movie just made you feel like a kid again when you came out. I had a smile on my face, and it's just a really fun movie. And it gets you, to me, it got me excited for the DC universe, and I trust James Gunn. You know, to me, he's one of the best filmmakers. What he does with his movies that I love is that he puts a lot of heart into his characters. He made me care about a talking tree, a talking raccoon. He made me care about a character called Polka Dot Man in his Suicide Squad movie. And he did the same thing with Superman, where I felt so invested in Superman. Like the scenes with him, and also the actors who played Paul Kent and Martha Kent, I thought they were great too. That scene in the movie with his dad, I love that scene where he's supportive of his son and like tells him like, look, it all comes down to choices. The choices you make is what defines who you are. Like, there's one controversial element in this movie where I can see some people being on either side of this is that it's revealed that when Superman gets to the rest of Jor-El's messes, that Jor-El is kind of like seems like he's portrayed not as a good guy. I don't have a problem with that personally because I look at Smallville as an example where Jor-El at times in Smallville wasn't really the best father, honestly, at times in that show. He was kind of a bad guy at times. So, and I just love the fact this movie is really about that, it's the people that raise you that make you who you are. Not the people you would, like, sometimes it's not like the people that bloodline wise are related to. Sometimes it's just the like that's just like like if you're an orphan like Superman and you were raised by loving parents, sometimes it's not your blood related parents that make you who you are. Sometimes it's your parents that adopted you and raised you. And I love the fact that it's kind of like this movie shows how much Martha and Jonathan is how his adopted parents really play a big part into what like defines Superman, what gives him his heart. There's a great moment at the end that I love, where for most of the movie he's listening to Jor-El's speech, and then he finds out about what the rest of Jor-El's messes was, Jor-El and Law's messes. I love at the end of the movie where the robots like put him lying down, and he sees a footage where he's listening not to his bloodline parents, to Jor-El and Law's messes. They show he's looking at images of memories of his adopted parents with Jonathan and Martha. I love that because it just shows how much important they are to his character. I always said this, like, to me, Jonathan and Martha is what gives Superman his essence, the moral values. And I love how you get some great moments with those characters in this movie, of them feeling like loving parents that support their son. So I love that in this movie. And yeah, just I love everything about this movie. The cast, the tone, the never felt like it got over silly to me. Like I said, outside of the Eve character, which was a little goofy at times, the comedy worked a lot for me in this movie. I love the comic book feel of it. It feels different from other Superman movies. And to me, it never felt overstuffed personally for me. Nathan Fillion, I also want to talk about the cast members who played the Justice again, which they're not actually called in the movie. It's not the official name. Like, I love how Hawko kind of makes fun of that too. She's like, we're not calling ourselves that. But Nathan Fillion is Guy Gardner. I think he's great. To me, he nails the character. Guy Gardner could be a hard character to nail because in the comics he's a very douchey character. And Nathan Fillion, I've always loved him as an actor, and he does a great job making Guy Gardner extremely likable, while he still is a douchebag, but in a lovable way. And I think Guy Gardner is definitely a tricky character to do in live action. And I feel like Nathan Fillion nails it because he's just, to me, even though he's a douchebag, I find him a lovable douchebag and likable. So I think he nails the character of Guy Gardner. The actress who plays Hawkgirl, I thought she was great in this movie too. I think she brings that tense and just badassery to Hawkgirl that I love. And I also love how when you hear her scream when she's attacking people, it sounds terrifying. I love that little element with the Hawkgirl in this. The guy who plays Mr. Terrific, I think he does a great job in this movie too. I love this version of Mr. Terrific, where he's kind of like stoic. He doesn't really seem to show much emotion, but I think he's just great. And I just came out of this movie wanting to see more of those characters still. Guy who plays Metamorpho, where he can like shape. I think it's like he can shape shift. Okay, and a superhero can transmute elements in his body into various forms. I thought he was great too as Metamorpho, and to me, I thought like that moment where he like is captured, where you see he's in prison with Superman. He's like using it as a hand to turn into kryptonite. I love how his powers look, and I love the design. It looks like straight out of the comics. Like, I thought he was a really cool character. I'm excited to see more of his character, and I felt really bad for his character when it came to his kid being held captured too. So I thought he was just a very sympathetic character that I really felt for, Ashley, and I think the actor does a great job as that character. But yeah, I think they're all great to me. They're all great as their characters. Like I'm definitely excited to see more of these characters. Crypto, I love Crypto in this movie. As a dog lover, this is another thing that I think adds to me a human element to Superman. Which is that look, he has a dog. And I love that because it makes, like I said, it adds another human element where as somebody who loves dogs, I love the fact that Crypto is this dog that like can be kind of like he's a great dog. Like he's a lovable dog in the movie, but at times he can be a bad dog, and I love that about the Crypto in this movie. Where at times you're kind of like he just like he's too hyper, where you're like, okay, he's not always the greatest dog in this movie, but he's still a lovable dog. So I love that about Crypto in this movie. I thought Crypto, like I love the look of Crypto. I thought he was just I love how Crypto used how did Crypto use his powers in the movie when it came to the fight scenes with Crypto helping out during the fights. I love that, and I thought he was used very well in this movie. Where and again, I'm a dog lover, so that I'm not gonna lie, that to me is something that really worked for me as a dog lover. So I think Crypto is great in this movie. The robots I think are also great in this movie. I love how all the robots have personality in this movie, where they all feel like they're robots, but they all have like a personality to them, which I love. And this is another thing I love. And this might be something little, but I love the fact during the fight scenes, you see Superman really focus on making sure he's helping people. Like when they're fighting a gigantic monster, he's always making sure that everybody is safe around when the fight's going on. Like in Man of Steel, there's like one moment where they show he saves a soldier during the fight between the two Kryptonians in Smallville. But one of the things I kind of had an issue with in Man of Steel, like in the third act of that movie, is that when he's fighting General Zod and all of that, I like to me, I understand it's his first day, but like Superman cares about people, and I feel like he would still try to like make sure like people around him are safe while at the same time fighting. That's one thing I love about Superman too, is that he's concerned about people in Metropolis when he's fighting these guys. He's not like and to me, that's something that I really, just a little thing, and that's just personally me, but just a little thing they add in this movie where they show that he's always constantly helping people, even during a fight, to make sure that nobody's getting hurt while he's fighting some monster or some character that's as strong as him. And I love that about the Superman. There's even a moment where he saves a little chipmunk or squirrel. I love that too. Like, I love the fact that this Superman cares about all different types of living things. Like when the robot dies and he's holding the robot, because you see the shot in the trailer, you see how emotional he gets over over this robot. Even though this is a robot, I love the fact, like I said, I love how this man just cares about all living thing in this movie. I love that about this Superman. And I'm gonna spoil something here again. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop the video now. Supergirl is in this movie at the end. And I just like even just a brief glimpse, I'm really excited to see this Supergirl because you find in this movie Superman is taking care of Crypto because Supergirl left Crypto off with Superman to take care of for him to take care of the dog because she was off partying on some off world because on Earth she can't get drunk. And I haven't read a Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic, the based in the Solo movie coming out because I believe that's the next movie. But I think in that moment, you already get a sense of that this is a broken Supergirl. And I know from what I heard, it sounds like the Supergirl comic is very dark. And I love the idea that even just that moment, you get a sense that she is very different from Superman. That maybe she's more broken and more screwed up and not as like hopeful as the Superman. Which I love that because I do think it's you want to make Supergirl different, obviously, from Superman. So I love the even just a brief moment we get a Supergirl in this movie. I love the look of the costume too, personally, in this movie. So for me, this movie I love. And look, it's not a perfect movie, and I can totally understand that this movie is not going to work for everybody. No movie in history has ever worked for everybody. There's no movie made in history that everybody's going to have the same opinion on. But for me personally, I just really connected with this Superman movie, with David Crossett as Superman. And this is a movie that left me thinking. This is a movie that made me excited to a DC universe. And this is a movie that made me fall in love with Superman again. And I haven't felt that way since those first two original Superman movies when it comes to the Superman in film. So that's my thoughts on Superman 2025. I highly recommend you go check out the movie in theater. This is a movie worth seeing in theaters, in my opinion. Until next time, movie fans.